Good afternoon. Welcome back to Passionate World Talk Radio Network. PWTRN is a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC. Educate, enlighten, and entertain. And today we are going to discuss with your host, Lillian Caldwell, the politics of reproductive rights in the 20th century. We haven't even get going yet in the 21st century. So what's the problem? Last time in our episodes, I spoke about a device, an app that one can place on your cell phone, whether it's an Android or an iPhone, that can track women who are going to abortion clinics and track them to wherever they go in whatever part of the state of US they go to, and then can track them home, giving their opponents or people who don't believe they have the right to have choices about their own body and about the quality of life for the yet unborn child. They don't have that right, whether it's incest or whether it is rape. They don't care. They believe it's wrong. And it's not my place to discuss it. But I can discuss the of our country, and next week go into the fact that even though women have been given equality in some parts, it's not a law within the Constitution because someone blocked it from being ratified. And we will go into that next week. So what do you need to know? Well, you need to know, first of all, that the article was published in 2017. And then it was written by Rickie Solinger. The next thing you need to know is that the reproductive experience of women in our country and girls, because a lot of girls go, the family story is one of the young teenagers in our family had an affair with an older man, got herself pregnant. Daddy was a doctor. Daddy had connections. Daughter was sent away up north in New England. That's all we know. And when she came back, she was no longer pregnant. Conclusion, to that day she died at 86. She regretted having the abortion. But no child of 14 should be giving birth to a child. That is a child having a child. Now, if we were in the 1700s or the 1800s, or even in the 19th century, an unwed woman was considered a whore, a slut. And families got rid of them because they brought shame on the family. Just letting you know. And for those who did not have connections, they went to backyard doctors or hacks who went in and took out the fetus and just killed the mom in the process, or made sure that that mom could never carry children again, ever. She was sterilized. Oh, by the way, the U.S. government did sterilize a lot of African Americans from having children because they were considered less intelligent. Just thought I'd throw that in to make your happy day even more not so happy. So how can this happen where the government has the right to tell you as a woman what you can do with your body? Can you even think or stretch your mind if men were allowed to have children? Do you think they would have the government interfere with their... However, that's another type of debate that we need to also discuss, because there are people within the scientific community that are trying to do just that, get men pregnant. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. They're more than welcome to it. However, this behavior by our government was shaped by politics, race, class, and let's not forget our own standby, religion, because religion plays a very great part of it. Politics, when they can pass a law telling me that a fetus has the right over the woman to exist, that's where I draw the line. It's like saying a ghost has a right to dictate to you what can and cannot be said at their funeral. A child takes 9 months to develop. A fetus is not a child. End of that discussion. We will postpone that for another time. The U.S. government regarded white women as the only legitimate reproducers in this country and potentially fit mothers, and defined women of color as unfit for reproduction and motherhood. And regulations were provided for rewards and punishments accordingly. In addition, public policy and public rhetoric defined, quote, population control, unquote, as the control and as the solution to a variety of social and political problems in the United States, including poverty, immigration, and overpopulation. Well, we're not having that problem in the United States. In fact, white people are having less children. And of course, the potential incoming president wants to set up a pregnancy program the same way that Hitler set up one, where all girls starting around, 13, who are fertile, were either married off or coupled with somebody so they could produce white babies to keep the population strong. Throughout the 20th century, women, communities of color, and impoverished people challenged the government's efforts, at times reducing or even eliminating barriers to reproduction, freedom, and community survival. It is found that if it wasn't for the immigrants, we would be having a problem. In fact, they've been talking about entire cities who are going to become ghost towns because they don't have enough people left in that major city to keep it populated. Another piece of the puzzle. Between 1900 and 1930, marked by the increasing urbanization, industrialization, and immigration, eugenic fears of race suicide, concerns that white women were not having enough babies, fueled a reproductive control regime that pressured middle-class women to reproduce. At the same time, the state enacted anti-immigration laws, undermining the integrity of Native families, and protected various forms of racial discrimination, segregation, and white supremacy, all of which attach reproduction to it. In these decades, African American women escaped the brutal and sexually predatory Jim Crow culture of the South, and middle-class white women gained greater sexual freedom and access to reproductive health care, including contraceptive. And that therein lies the problem. If they get rid of abortion, okay, Roe versus Wade, the incoming president gloats about that, points to himself and says, I'm a wonderful person. Look what I did. The problem is, ladies and gentlemen, when these children who are not wanted are born, the government does not take care of them does not intercede for the value of their life and do not do anything about their social, environmental, parental upbringing. Most of these kids are born to women who are addicts, whether it's alcohol or drugs or food, or they live in poor areas of the country, in the ghettos of the city, and they're abandoned or put into foster homes or orphanages. And not all orphanages are bad, but certainly our social services with foster kids, it's terrible. Just talk to any kid who went through the foster care system. And these kids are deprived of a good education, good health, and they're not brought up to really be anything but outcasts. But still, the government places their value of life over the life of a woman. Just something you need to think about so you can see the whole picture. The whole picture, not what the incoming president or what a political party deems that you should hear. Go take a look on Google what happens to women when they have a backdoor solution to abortion, or what happens to women who miscarry and how they bleed out. Bleed out in the 21st century? Really? Well, there's all kinds of death. Yes, but it's like the woman is being punished for being a woman. And if you're a woman, I would start worrying about my rights and how unequal you are to men. When the government starts telling you what you have to do to supply them with what they want in terms of numbers, well, I'll leave that to your imagination. So the government is invoking what they call the population bomb. They want to get rid of or discourage birth rates from poor women, what they call welfare queens, and define motherhood as a class privilege. Does that remind you of blue-eyed, white babies only in Germany? The superior race that was going to last 1,000 years. Just think you need to be reminded of your history there. And it's suitable only for those who can afford to give their children advantages. Well, according to the recent economic news, that rules out the middle class because they will not be able to afford anything with the tariffs. Just thought I'd mention that as well. And if you don't know what a tariff is, I will go into another episode and explain it and tell you that you won't be able to afford a lot of things. And let's not forget the potential food shortages that may be coming as part of your Christmas gifts in advance before the incoming president comes in. So what we have here is the part of the government to get rid of legalized abortion. As a result, the latter part of the 20th century saw severe court decisions that cut social programs designed to aid low-income mothers and their children, funding for public education and housing, court decisions that dramatically reduce poor women's access to reproductive health care, including abortion, and the emergence of a powerful, often violent, anti-abortion movement. In 1994, a group of women of color activists articulated the theory of reproductive justice, putting together social justice and reproductive rights. The resulting reproductive justice movement came about, and they articulated what each individual requires to achieve these rights. The right not to have children, the right to have children, and the right to the social, economic, and environmental conditions necessary to raise these children in a healthy, peaceful, and sustainable household and community, unquote, which the politicians looked the other way and passed the buck. We will continue this discussion and this information because it affects you, ladies, the backbone of the United States of America. We're right up there with the natural resources and the minerals. I bet we even draw equal with the debate on oil and gas and fracking and alternative resources. Think about it. You're now considered a national resource put out by the incoming Republican president. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Again, you can either go over to youtube.com/@PassionatWorldRadio or go over to PassionatWorldTalkRadio.com. Scroll down till you find State of Current Affairs. Click on it. And on that page below the commentate form, you will see a Google link. Click on it. It'll take you into the belly of the beast, YouTube. This program is brought to you by a publishing company in Singapore that does memoirs with parents, grandparents, even a kid. Kid has lots of experience that you can share with your friends, family, peers. Makes great gifts. Christmas is coming. The goose is getting fat. Please put a penny in PWTR Network's hat. Also, Ruby.ai. Check it out. http:// with Lillian. That's 2 L's. LILLIAN.com. Do the demo. Sign up monthly. It's a no-brainer. Learn now what you will have more trouble learning the older you get. Don't procrastinate. And also the podcast obstacle training course, 2 months, 1 hour, 5 days a week, 2 for the price of 1. Please go over to education.passionatworldtalkradio.com/masterclass and sign up. You'll be delighted. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday at 3 p.m. Lest we forget historical with your host, Lillian Caldwell.